Hi, everybody. It's Sunday evening. You know what that means. It's time for Region Weather Live. I'm Region Weather Meteorologist Matt Wintz. We're going to take a look at your forecast for the next 10 days. We're going to get through next weekend and go beyond that. We're going to look at trends here to see if this cool fall-like air leaves us or if it sticks around for a little while. We've got a pretty interesting pattern shaping up this time of year. The jet stream always becomes more active across the northern tier of the country, so that brings stronger systems in. You tend to get more ups and downs in terms of those temperatures. And we also track the tropics this time of year as well. I mean, it is peak season. We're finally getting out of that. So we'll eventually be talking less and less about tropical activity and more about, yes, winter weather across the northern tier of the country. But we're not dealing with that yet. That's the good news. So what we're going to do, we're going to run our intro, then we'll dive into it on this Sunday evening edition of Region Weather Live. Hi, everyone, and welcome in. Happy Sunday evening to you. I hope you had a nice weekend. Boy, around here, we're very active. Excuse the hair. I had a hat on all day. I mentioned, a couple weeks ago, actually probably a month and a half ago, that we eventually would be moving. Well, we're in the thick of it now. You notice my shelf's empty. I don't know where that stuff went. You probably hear the hollowness of, I don't know if you can pick up on that yet or not, but it's echoing down here. In my little wet region weather studio. We're in the midst of packing. We've got boxes everywhere. We're going to end up moving later on this week. So next Sunday, I don't think I'm going to be able to do a broadcast because I don't think we can get set up in time. But after that, you're going to notice we're going to have a new region weather little center around, right? I don't want to call it a studio because I'm not taking up a whole room in the house, but I'll take up a good portion. We've got a good plan mapped out at our new house. But anyway, we're kind of in the thick of that. So we're going to keep it kind of short and to the point here tonight. But I appreciate you bearing with me. Again, I'm a mess. I'm covered in, whatever I put on during the day in terms of sweat. So that's that. All right. Want to say hi to you guys. Diana, hello. Tina, Gregory, hi. Mary, hi. Jan, D, Diana, Deshaun, Diane, Dave. Dave, you're absolutely welcome. I appreciate your comment. Deshaun, loves the intro. Love that. Stephen talking about the rain in Griffith right now. Gail, good evening. Mark, good evening to you. And Brenda, good evening to you. Thank you guys for spending your Sunday evening with me. We'll keep this short and to the point. I'm always humbled by the fact that you guys come to join me to talk weather. I hope you get something out of it. So we'll get to your forecast. Have to thank our sponsors, Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in the Valparaiso area. Pay them a visit if you're looking for a new Jeep or any new car. They've got all sorts of cars on the lot, used and new. They've got a special right now on the Jeep Wagoneer, which is a fantastic vehicle. It's just the size for our family. So we're going to be looking into that shortly. But Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram at Grieger's in Valpo on US 30, place to go for that. And then Tiger Plumbing as well. I mean, they're the most fun. They're just awesome. I just love Tiger Plumbing. I know a lot of you have as well. It's tigerplumbing.net. If you have any leaks in the house or any plumbing needs whatsoever, we're moving into a house that has radiators, which we haven't had in a long time. And I'm sure I'm going to be using a plumber for that because apparently it's just a mess when you get an old house, which we're doing. So anyway, I diverge or I digress. Tigerplumbing.net, place to go for that. And boy, they're great. They come out for free. They're just a wonderful group of folks over there. Okay, let's get to the map, shall we? I'm seeing a lot of nice comments coming in. Dee, thank you very much. Kimberly, thank you as well for the good luck on the good move. Dave, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm staying in the Cleveland area, Dave. Nothing's changing with my job. I'm very happy at NBC in Cleveland. And we're actually moving. We're in the city now and we're moving out to the country. We need some land because I've got 3 kids. My wife and I need to get them out of the house more, and we have like a city lot now. And so we're moving out to the country. We've got a nice 6-acre lot. So I'm getting a lawnmower and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I don't know what's happening. It'll be great. We've been in the city since Chicago. I mean, we lived in Chicago for a long time, and it's going to be a change. So we'll see what happens. All right. So weather-wise, this is what we're dealing with. I want to start you off with the big picture because this is so interesting. This shows everything across the eastern half of the country, obviously. But you notice here's Ian. This is still tropical storm winds at 60. Ian is expected to rapidly intensify. I'm sure you've heard about it in the news. We were highlighting this last week as well as a potential development. And this is going to rapidly intensify because it's sitting over virtually bathwater in the Gulf of Mexico in the Caribbean. And this will eventually head north. If you follow my mouse cursor, it's going to head northwest and eventually north. Where it goes still in question. Florida likely to be a target of this, but the part of Florida is the big question. Some of the modeling takes it into the Tampa area. Some takes it up towards the Big Bend there, Cedar Key. I've actually visited. We vacationed there. It's a wonderful place. There's no highway close to it, so you have to spend an hour on side roads getting there. But that's right in this little portion here. Or does it affect the Panhandle up towards Apalachicola, Tallahassee? Where does this system come in and how strong is it going to be is the big question. Likely a Cat 3. Some of the models bring it up to Cat 4. Most of them staying in Category 2, 3 area. So hurricane forecasting, I got to be honest, isn't very good. I mean, we know where it's going. We have time to see where it's going. But you notice where that cone is. That cone tends to kind of fluctuate a little bit. And these things can change, albeit they change slowly because these systems usually move pretty slowly. But that's why we still have, that big area as a question on where this hits. It's nice that forecasting lets us know that. Don't get me wrong. It's come a long way, but there's still a long way to go in terms of hurricane forecasting. So this will be something to keep an eye on. And I don't want to shrug it off here locally because eventually it's going to come inland. There are some models that take it as far west as eastern Indiana. Nothing really brings it into northwestern Indiana, but I'll show you that in the modeling here in a second. The other feature I want to point out is you see this big ridge out towards the west. See how everything goes up and over Washington out towards the west, and then it kind of comes down in the east. Well, what we're stuck with is this northwest flow, and then off here, right here where my mouse cursor is, this is where Hurricane Fiona went. Way up towards the North Maritimes, it's kind of developed this large trophy area of low pressure where everything's kind of circulating, opposite of a clock there in the eastern half of the country. And that's where we find ourselves. We have a northwest flow. There's lake effect rain getting kicked off all over the Great Lakes, and we stay in this cool pattern as of right now. So that's really going to be our next weather feature to watch. We were watching some showers and thunderstorms pushing out of southern Wisconsin this evening. Those turned severe briefly with some strong winds. That's this little impulse of energy that's moving south. It's in northwest Indiana now. We've got some scattered showers. We've had some downpours around. Nothing severe with this. It's just going to kind of rain itself out and then move out towards the east, and it's going to kick up our wind again and keep us on the cool side. So I want to take you through the modeling. Keep your eye on eastern Michigan. The lake effect machine, it's not always lake effect snow. Typically in the fall, you start as lake effect rain. Anytime you bring cool air over that warm lake water evaporates into that cool air, condenses, and forms these lake effect bands. If it's cold enough to produce snow, obviously we have to talk about lake effect snow. But this time of year, it's not cold enough. But still, that differential is strong enough to produce lake effect rain. And it's been coming down heavy at times. But you can see as we go through time, this little impulse goes by, heads down towards Indianapolis, down towards Dayton. But this rotating low we get off towards the north will continue to bring in these spokes of lake effect rain for areas of Michigan. For us locally, we stay on a strong northwest flow tomorrow. I think we see lots of sunshine. Tomorrow's going to be a nice day. It's going to be crisp outside. It'll feel fall-like with the decent wind out of the northwest, but the rain should stay away tomorrow. It's on into Tuesday and then eventually Wednesday. You see, we start to trigger some lake effect showers out towards LaPorte County. That's early Tuesday morning. And then as we go throughout the day, notice how this banding starts to shift more north to south. So by Tuesday night into Wednesday, the model doesn't quite go that far in terms of the high res, but look at this band that sets up. In the wintertime, this would be one of those pronounced squalls, with the real heavy snow, 1 to 2 inches an hour. Not the case this time of year, thankfully, but you can get some really heavy rain out of this, even some lightning. And this is going to be the case. We're going to have to watch lake effect rain Tuesday night into Wednesday as that wind turns a little bit more northerly. We'll see how this band develops, and we'll see if it gets into maybe Porter, LaPorte, and Stark counties. How about that? So that'll be really the next thing that we watch will be, again, that Tuesday, late in the day, especially Tuesday night, Wednesday timeframe for this system to come in. Where do we go beyond that? Well, this low pressure troughs kind of stays with us all the way through midweek. You can see we're now up to, this is Tuesday. It's picking up on the Euro, some of that lake effect. Meanwhile, there's Ian, now a strong hurricane in the Gulf. The Euro brings it into the Tampa area right there. This is Wednesday now. We've lost after that rain comes through with the lake effect. We've lost the lake effect rain. High pressure is going to settle in. We'll have a beautiful midweek. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday look great. But here comes Ian into the Gulf. Does it, take the curve into Tampa? Does it head off towards the north, like some of the other models are saying? Either way, let me go back to the 12Z model real quick just to show you. I want to go a little bit further out than what this is going. Okay, it's kind of funky clicking here. There we go. All right, this should bring us a little bit more time here so we can kind of evolve it into the weekend. But here you go. So here's Ian down towards the south. We dry out Wednesday, Thursday, and then the Euro brings it right into Tampa as a Category 2/3 hurricane. And then watch this. We've got high pressure off towards the north, but remember that flow around high pressure, it's that same high pressure that's going to dry us out today. Remember that flow is clockwise, right? So when we're on the southern side of it, we've got an east wind. And so that will actually bring the remnants of Ian, whatever those happen to be, north and then kind of towards Indiana, as I mentioned. So this is Friday into Saturday now. We're still dry, likely have some high clouds coming in off of Ian. And then look at this. The rain comes all the way into Indiana and Ohio, perhaps on Saturday, next weekend already, October 1st, right? So that's kind of interesting that we may end up getting some rain off the remnants of Ian. Does it make it this far west? As of right now, I haven't seen any models that say it does. It's pretty close, but nothing brings it in. But something to watch. If that high pressure is stronger, then the winds on the southern flank will be enough to push it in. But there's too much of a northerly flow. There's too much going on up in Canada where everything's flowing fast that it'll probably get caught up in that and barely miss us. But we'll see. Again, something interesting. You see the whole thing fizzles out. Let's say it does move in and we get some rain off of it. What can you expect? Nothing big, not a big deal. I mean, the wind doesn't even look to be much of an issue. It would just be rain. That's about it. We're not expecting any strong winds or anything like that. So beyond that, and I've said this before, but oftentimes tropical systems, everything waits for them. So if there's a hurricane anywhere, all the systems, all the cold fronts and low pressures off towards the west have to wait for it. We saw that with Fiona. So Fiona went up the Atlantic coast, out over sea, up towards Bermuda. It went off towards the north, but it was such a strong area of low pressure that our weather pattern kind of got stuck. And that's where we are right now. This low pressure was coming in and it's stuck. It's still spinning because it was waiting for Fiona. That's now moving, but now that Ian's coming in, everything will kind of pause again. And our weather, which is going to be pretty darn nice later this week, is going to kind of pause. We're going to pause in the nice weather all the way into the weekend, and then we'll watch for the remnants. And then everything will get flowing again next week. So that being said, I don't see any huge weather changes as we get into the latter half of the week. Temperature-wise, we'll start to moderate. We've got a pretty cool week out ahead of us, so most days in the 60s. But then things will start moving again. And all indication is that we start to get some more active weather in here in terms of up and down temperatures by Tuesday and Wednesday of the following week. So that's early October. Okay, so that's what we're looking at weather-wise. So just kind of in summary, and I'd be happy to answer your questions here as we always do at the end of the broadcast. But just to summarize, we've got a nice day tomorrow. It's going to be cool, still fall-like. Temperatures will stay below average much of the week. Our next thing to watch is going to be the late Tuesday, Wednesday lake effect potential with perhaps some lake effect showers or maybe a bigger band of rain moving in to mainly our eastern counties. So Porter, LaPorte, Stark counties have the best risk of seeing some decent lake effect rain Tuesday night, Wednesday. After that moves out, we get high pressure that sets in, lots of sunshine. We'll watch Ian. That'll be the main attention later this week. No cold fronts or anything to worry about. Ian's going to be the big thing. Where does Ian hit in Florida is really the question right now. And do the remnants come north? And does that high pressure that's over us shift some of that rain towards our direction? And that would be a Saturday, Sunday arrival next weekend. If not, next Saturday, Sunday look great. We'll probably settle in with rain off towards our east, some high clouds over the area, but it doesn't look like anything too crazy on the weather front. Okay. All right. I hope that answers all your questions. Kimberly says country living is the best. Yeah, it definitely will, Kimberly. Certainly looking forward to that. Shelly, thank you very much. I appreciate you very much. I've never heard Char's never heard of the term lake effect rain before. Yeah, Char, we always hear snow because it gets a bad rap, right? But we're seeing lake effect rain all across the eastern half of the Great Lakes right now. Erie and Ontario are getting it. We're seeing it out towards the north too. Mark says, when Katrina hit, we had rain as far north as Indianapolis. It just depends on forward speed. And Mark, the way I look at it, all these highs and low pressure systems all over the country, they're always, all over the map. they're kind of like a pulley system. So you can follow the air from one spot to another based on the flow of the atmosphere, right? So let's give you an example here. So let's go back to, this is Monday. This is tomorrow, okay? And let's follow, I'm trying to look for a high here. There's a high pressure up in here, okay? So the wind around that high comes down. So this air that's up here in Canada would come down with this low pressure out towards the east right here. And then it would kind of come around and it would go back around that high pressure again, right? So we could literally track that area of air. And so let's say there's a strong high pressure on the East Coast. This system in the Gulf, if there was, there's not, but if there was, Ian would race up on that wind and come up to the north. That's usually what gets a tropical system here, is if there's high pressure east and the flow around that pushes that tropical system inland. This setup isn't conducive for that because we'll have a high pressure over us. So this system, Ian's trying to come into that high pressure and kind of slows down. It has to wait for it to leave, and that's when it has a chance to come in, but it's already been over land. Remember, when hurricanes or tropical systems hit land, they start to die out because they thrive on warm ocean water, right? That's what they need, is that warm water. Once it hits land, it loses its food source, so they start to deteriorate really quickly. So the fact that the high pressure is here, Ian comes in, starts to deteriorate over land, has to wait for the high pressure to move. So it'll be a weak system when it comes off towards the north, for sure. Deshaun says, where'd my mouse cursor go? I don't know where my mouse went, Deshaun. Here we go. Deshaun says, I know the last week of October 2022, around Halloween time, it's short, a little while out, but any long-range forecast for October will be warm, cool, got a costume concept. That's awesome. Nicki Minaj theme. That's great. So Deshaun, there are models. I don't know what I clicked on here. We're looking at Ireland or something. I'm sorry. But anyway, there are models that go that far, but they're not very accurate. I'll be completely honest. There are signs that through the mid part of the month of October, we do start to warm up again. If you've ever seen that thing that goes around that has, all the different seasons of Northwest Indiana, I do feel like we're in a false fall right now. It's really the first fall, and then you have a warm up. I forget what it's called. It's something funny. And then we go to true fall after that before we jump right into winter, right? So I do feel like this is kind of a false cool down. I do see a warm up probably early, I would say early to mid-October. So probably the end of that first week in October. Going into the end of the month, though, I could tell you what the models say right now, but they'll change. There's no point in looking at that. My feelings, Deshaun, on winter forecasts. It's just clickbait. It really is. They'll say, oh, strong La Nina. That means we'll get more snow than usual and colder than usual. Well, what's that mean? You still have 60-degree days in the middle of winter. And, does that mean it was a cold winter if you have like a week of cold? How do you base this stuff? No one goes back and checks in April what the winter forecast was or what these local news channels are putting out as winter forecasts. So to me, it's clickbait. As soon as you show me a meteorologist that's forecasting 7 to 10 days out accurately, like 100% accurately, then maybe I'll start to listen in terms of how January is going to go or February is going to go. Does that make sense? So I'm so anti winter forecasts and stuff like that. So to tell you Halloween, I'd be blowing smoke right now, and it wouldn't be very accurate. Maxwell asks pretty much same question. I don't think we're done with hot temperatures. Now, by hot, Maxwell, I do think we're done with 90s, but we could still have a couple 80-degree days from here. We've had some very warm days in October before where we've had stretches of 70s and a couple 80s. I don't think it's going to get out of control, but again, I do see some warming to start October. Yeah, everyone filling in the blanks. Indian summer. It was something funnier than Indian summer. I forgot what it was. The first one's called False Fall, and then it's just, you guys know what I'm talking about. Just a list of seasons for Northwest Indiana. It's good stuff. Okay, I think I've answered all your questions. All right, I'm going to get back to packing. I'd rather not, but I certainly appreciate you guys very much. If you haven't heard us yet, again, we're on local radio stations every morning. I get to call in and talk to Steve. It's just awesome. It's just so much fun. I'm just so tickled by it. I enjoy getting up and doing that every morning. But X-Rocks 103.9, Indiana 105.5, and Z 107.1. So, we treat them as a sponsor as well. So if you could, give them some listening, that would be awesome. And our forecasts are on there. During severe weather, we'll have some coverage on there too. So kind of cool for that. Okay. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful night. We'll be back with you again. Next Sunday is probably going to be a no-go. I'm just going to be honest. I don't even know if we're going to have internet then. But in 2 weeks, I will rejoin you on the Sunday evening Region Weather Lives. And again, if there's any severe weather or anything we need to cover during the week, we'll join live on those too. We're not ruling out live shots during the week. We did a couple weeks ago with the severe weather. So we'll still be in touch. If not, we'll get your forecast every single day, not just on the radio, but on Region Weather and regionweather.com. Okay. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful night.